Aloha Planetary Kin. Welcome to another installment of It's About Time, where we explore the difference between natural time and artificial time. I'm your host and cosmic skywatcher, Randy Bruner, also known as Cosmic Hand, transmitting aligned with the divine from 19.5 on the Big Island of Hawaii. It's about time. Aloha Planetary Kin. Today we're talking about an update of the information that actually got me started in doing these videos again and resurrecting It's About Time in a video format. If you remember, the first videos that I did were about the collapse of the magnetosphere, or the magnetopause. And that was back in April. It was April 23rd. That was red galactic serpent in the Mayan calendar. And red galactic serpent was in the central column of the Tzolk'in, the open central column. And so that's symbolic as well, that the galactic pulse came in through the open central column. And if you recall from my previous video, you can see what I was talking about with that happening. But also, 5 days later, after that, Venus, going across the center of the Tzolk'in, moved back into the glare of the sun and was no longer visible as the morning star. So interesting thing about that. But what inspired me was that I had done a search on the internet for other events such as that to see if that had occurred at another time. And as we said in the other video, NASA pretty much scrubbed the information for that event on April 23rd. So I thought maybe there was something else out there, and sure enough, there was. And I found it on the internet. You can search as well for Magnetosphere Collapse or something like that. But the key here is that this time NASA didn't scrub the data, and somebody grabbed it and posted it up on the web, and I found that. And I don't remember exactly who it was to give credit to them, but you can find it on the internet pretty easily. And so what we see here in this data is actually the impulse coming in. We get to see the pulse coming in before it hits the Earth, while it's hitting the Earth, and even after it's over. So this is a complete set of data that we didn't have for the one that happened just this year. And the other cool thing about it is when this one happened was back in 2012. And of course, 2012 was the big year for the ending of the long count in the traditional Mayan calendar. And that was, of course, December 21st, 2012. But this pulse came in March of 2012. It was actually March, 11th, 12th, and 13th. The actual pulse itself came in on the 12th, but there was a bit of data from the 11th that showed a disturbance, okay? But not a complete pulse, just a disturbance. And then on the 12th, the pulse came in, and it actually took out the magnetosphere. And then on the 13th, the energy was coming in all day long almost. So those days, we had a lot longer period than what we had back in April. So this is very cool for me to look at. And the other thing is, when I looked at it, the day of the pulse itself, the 12th of March 2012, was Blue Magnetic Night. Blue Magnetic Night is, of course, what's coming up as the summer solstice this year. Not only summer solstice, but full moon and blue moon all at the same time. So this is how synchronicity works, okay? Every time these energies come around, we either add to it, do it the same, do it differently. It comes around and we can use the energy that's already there, or we can change the energy, or we can add to the energy. So it's not a static system. It doesn't just go around in a circle or even a cycle. It actually spirals. And each time it comes around, we can add to what's been built on before. So in 2012, that pulse was coming in to set us up for the December 21st ending of the traditional calendar. So when I say it was the 11th, 12th, and 13th in the calendar, it was actually cosmic wind, magnetic night, and lunar seed. So on the 11th, there was, like I said, a disturbance. The cosmic wind made itself known. And then the very next day, which was the beginning of the wave spell, it came in, and we can see it coming in. And then it established itself on that day and carried into the next day, the lunar seed day. And the lunar seed is a galactic activation portal. So it was actually the galactic activation portal planting the seed for the new world, the new humanity coming in after the ending of the traditional long count. So again, to me, it's very cool to see that, to look at that. And again, it's important to me to get the syntax going. I mean, because it was cosmic wind when it made itself known. So it literally is a cosmic breath of fresh air coming in from outside of not just our solar system, but outside of our galaxy. Because the sun was still in Pisces at this time. And so it came from the opposite direction of the sun. It pushed back the solar wind. And so that is from the direction of the constellation Virgo. And if you don't know about the constellation Virgo, it's where the supercluster of galaxies exists. In other words, there's not a lot of stars in that direction, and we're not looking at our own galaxy. We're actually looking away from our galaxy out that way. And there's literally thousands of other galaxies in what's known as the Virgo supercluster. So that beam came in not only from outside of our solar system, but it came from outside of our galaxy. And so it truly could be considered to be a cosmic wind. And in the traditional calendar and in the galactic calendar, the wind is the power of spirit, the power of breath, the power to communicate spirit. It was coming in, and it set itself up to come in at the beginning of the wave spell of night, which is the ability to dream, to live our dream, to dream our dream, and to move forward in a new dream. And so that's what I find really cool and interesting about it. So I do have all this data. I want to show you how it worked and what was going on. And then after we look at that, I'll look at the astrology as well, because the astrology is very interesting on that day too, because there was also a grand trine on that day, and the galactic beam actually came right through one of the corners of that grand trine. So we'll share that with you after we look at the data about the magnetopause. Here we see the normal solar wind and that pulse I talked about from the day before. But here is the pulse coming in. You can see that there's a shock wave ahead of that cosmic beam that's coming in from outside our solar system. There it is. And there's the beam coming in. And again, a shock wave is right on the front of that beam coming in. And of course, the magnetopause is still there because the solar wind is still coming in from over there. So here's a pulse coming up from behind the Earth, and there's the magnetopause in front of the Earth, between the Earth and the Sun. And you can see here it is still there, even though the cosmic pulse is now passing the Earth. And so you can see at this point there is no magnetopause, and the Earth's electromagnetic field is essentially canceled out at this point. The energy coming in from outside the solar system, the cosmic beam, is now reaching the Earth and streaming around the Earth and past the Earth. But you can see there that a little bit of the solar wind is still making its way back in, but the Earth is still protected by the cosmic beam, not by its own electromagnetic field like usual. The actual energy coming in from outside the solar system is protecting the Earth from any intrusion by the solar wind. And you can see here that it's spiraling around the Earth even then. And there's a little bit more solar wind trying to come back in. But the cosmic beam is keeping it at bay. So the important thing to recognize here is that the Earth is not in danger. We went through this. This is something that happened back in 2012. And, we have no negative effects from that. So we see that even though the magnetosphere was down, we were still protected from the solar wind, and the cosmic beam was potentially extremely positive. This is the same year, of course, as the ending of the long count in the Mayan calendar. So what we're seeing here is a precursor to that. This is the cosmic energy coming in, setting us up for the December 2012. And so here we are on the next day. This is the 13th, and this day is the cosmic beam coming in all day almost. And see, it's swirling around the Earth there, and no more solar wind is coming in. The key here is that this is the lunar seed day. This is a galactic activation portal day, and for almost this whole day we got this beam coming in. So we got a beam coming in on the magnetic night, the beginning of the wave spell, and then we got the beam for almost the whole day of lunar seed, and the planting of the seed with the cosmic beam, the seed for the new Earth, the new humanity, after the end of the long count. So again, very powerful and positive aspects here for what we're dealing with coming up, coming up from this time in 2012. The December dates were months later than this. So this is like a setup for the ending of the Mayan calendar, or the ending of the long count in the Mayan calendar. So here we see the flipping back and forth. Okay, so this is the beam coming in right here, and then this is the solar wind coming in. This is after the event. So here's the beam coming in, and here's the solar wind back in place after the event. There's the magnetopause back in place up against the solar wind. Now we're looking at the actual page with the magnetosphere data, and these are the northern and southern hemispheres. Here's the magnetopause, and here's the field lines of the Earth's electromagnetic field. That's what this one is up here. And so pay attention to the shift in the north and southern hemispheres when the energy comes in. See, it shifts directly back and forth. The beam starts to come in. It's not even in yet, but the energy of the north and south poles just flips back and forth radically. As soon as the beam starts to come in, the north and south poles flip radically. So you can see that the magnetopause is still there, but look at how different magnetic field lines are. They're definitely affected by the pulse. See, that's a pretty different. See, this is flipping. This is showing the magnetosphere going the other way. See, it's going back towards the sun actually in this one. And so you can see the field lines coming from out there, and this is flipping back and forth. This is normal solar wind, then that is the galactic beam. That's normal solar wind, that's the cosmic beam. Now for the astrology. Here you see the astrology chart for that particular day, and you can see 1440 universal time on the chart, and over here you see also 1440 universal time. So this is the chart for the exact time that the beam started to come in. It wasn't even there yet. There you see the magnetopause, and again the beam hadn't even come in yet. That's the solar wind coming in, and there's the magnetopause. Here's the shock wave for the pulse. The pulse is coming in, the cosmic beam is coming in from this direction and already affecting the Earth's field. There's again the shock wave in front of that pulse. Now looking at this chart, you see that there is, right in this area, the area of Virgo, is where the beam came through. Here's the sun over here, and opposite to the sun is the sign of Virgo. And so right through here is where the beam came in, right through Virgo. And also you see that right there coming in is also Mars, and Mars is in the corner of a grand trine with Pluto over here, and down here with Venus and Jupiter. So Pluto's out there working on the two lost planets. Mars is the lost planet and Jupiter is the lost planet. And of course Venus is right there with them. And there's Pluto up there, the transformer, working on both of those lost planets by trining them out. And of course there's Venus right there with Jupiter, working on getting rid of religion. Up here we're working on getting rid of war, overcoming the power of war. Here's the Earth right here in the center. That's where the beam came in. And of course the light from the sun coming from over here, and the other beam coming from the direction of Virgo. So looking at the astrology chart allows you to see that Pluto was out there trining with Jupiter and Mars, working on reclaiming religion, working on getting Mars to put down the sword. That was all going on. And of course Venus, the goddess, was over there right with Jupiter, and of course trining out Mars. So she's over there flirting with religion and flirting with Mars, while Pluto is over there trining it all. The planet of transformation was already at work trying to reclaim the lost planets. Venus, the goddess, was out there working on that side with Jupiter as well, and trining out Mars. So again, very positive, and you can see even back then at the ending of the great cycle that Pluto and Venus were out there trying to reclaim the lost planets. And so the goddess was hard at work even back in 2012. So again, return of the goddess is fully in play now, and we can tune right back into those energies as well.